Howdy folks, I'm Curvilinear Corona Australis, curiously cresting coronated crowns.
I'm Amber.
And here are more crowns for us to be coronated with because we are the Southern Crown today. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My In-Laws That They Are Too Poor to Go on Vacation Right Now? My in-laws recently sold their house and moved in with me and my wife because they are struggling financially. Maxed out credit cards, a mountain of medical debt, an equity line of credit against their prior house, no retirement savings, and more items that I'm sure they haven't been upfront about. They will not have enough to pay off everything outright after their house closes. We are doing this to help them gain their footing again and pay off as much debt as possible so that they can either afford to rent or buy a new home. Recently, they started talking about wanting to go on a proper vacation and started looking at going on cruises and are playing the pity cards that they haven't been on a real vacation in about 30 years. I told them that they are too poor to go on vacation right now and need to focus on saving money, paying debt, and getting a place of their own. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. It sounds like they're looking for OP to finance a getaway for them, and they have other priorities they need to focus on right now. Like, I understand being tired and wanting a break, but unfortunately, they've dug themselves into a hole financially, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and they kind of have to handle that first.
So, I mean, to me, I do think that they should pay off their debts and work on reorganizing their finances. I really do. But I also am curious about what they really are in debt for. Like, if this is because of medical debt, because it sounds like they said, oh, they owe a ton of money. Medical debt, I think, is one of those things where a lot of the times there's going to be a payment plan and it's just going to take time for them to pay it off. It may be one of those things where they can never pay off their medical debt, right? And because so many people go bankrupt because of medical debt. Now, if this is because they have a spending problem and they're constantly spending money and they are looking, always trying to buy the next shiny thing, then yeah, they need to really work on their finances and reorganize and whatnot. But if they've been through some really traumatic life experiences where they have been suffering from medical issues and whatnot, I can't blame them necessarily for wanting to get a getaway. I can't necessarily say it's the most appropriate thing, but if they're overall responsible with their finances and it's just been a stretch of bad luck, I can't blame them for wanting to just take some time to relax after a long strain of bad luck.
Yeah, I mean, from the way OP writes the post, it sounds like that's probably not the case with the maxed out credit cards and like the equity issues with their home.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like they are living beyond their means. And even in the unfortunate event that like it is just all medical debt that they put on their credit card or whatever, like they still can't afford the trip, and it's not fair to expect OP and his wife to foot the bill.
No, I don't think it's fair to expect OP and their wife to foot the bill. And I can understand OP wanting them out of the house as soon as possible, right? Because this is going to be one of the situations that probably turn into a permanent establishment if they don't work on paying down their debt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there might be some argument to make that like they can have a fund money account still to do fun things and put money aside to do fun things. Like, life isn't always about working and paying off debts and everything like that. But again, if they've had a lot of fun in their life and here they are spending even more money and like, well, we'll do this other really expensive thing, then maybe they should reconsider.
Yeah, well, I wonder too if they could have some of those debts to start discharged if they filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well. I mean, there's a lot of different things that they could do to help their financial situation. If declaring bankruptcy would help alleviate some of those medical debts, especially because that can really sink somebody. Like, if you end up with like hundreds of $1,000s worth of medical debt, because you didn't have good insurance or because your insurance only covers a certain percentage, that's a really tough place to be at. So there could be other things that they could do. And plus there's also debt negotiation. Like, a lot of times credit card companies, if you're in a really bad spot, they would rather see you pay off a percentage of the balance that's owed instead of like not getting anything at all. So I think maybe bankruptcy might be their best course of action depending on how everything is going down.
Yeah, they definitely need to do some serious financial planning no matter what happens going forward. Look at the avenues for debt consolidation or debt elimination, including bankruptcy and any other possible debt consolidation strategies.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Nando D Colonoscopy says, info. What does your wife think about all of this? This doesn't really seem like it's your fight, OP. And OP replies, we are on the same page. Where it differs is in the delivery. My wife is the good cop, attempting to sugarcoat the issues that we have with this and try to highlight the other ways that they could get away. I'm the bad cop, where I need to put a firm foot down on it if sugarcoating isn't working. And Amazon Alley says, info, do you live near a port of call? Do you know how much the cruise is? Like, are they within driving distance and looking for a cheap 4-day cruise for $199? Or are you far away and have to fly there, hotel, and planning longer cruises? I myself struggled to cover all the cost on a long-term disability, but I cut out all eating and movies and meeting friends for a drink and put it on the TFSA every month so that I am able to travel one time a year to a cheap all-inclusive. The last trip I paid for 1,305 Canadian for 7 days in the Dominican, hotel, flights, unlimited food and drinks, etc. Going out to dinner is now like $40 here. A movie night is like $50. So by putting all of my entertainment budget into the TFSA, I can travel. Sometimes people just need a break from the regular life and all the struggles that come with it. You would not be the jerk if they were looking at an expensive high-end cruise with flights to the port. You would be a soft jerk if you live in like Miami and they were looking at one of those $199 4-day type deals. What I spent on one trip wouldn't even cover my rent for a month, let alone a year. I have a ton of debt and I'm paying it down myself, but I also know the importance of getting away from reality for a week to reset myself. And then it's easier to live in austerity for another few months. The US has this weird hate on for vacations and how important it is to have downtime. So it is integrated into your work culture. It's ridiculous. And OP replies, we are not near a port of call. What they are planning is a European cruise that will require them to fly to another country to board the ship. I definitely understand needing a break, and we have shown them that there are cheaper alternatives that they can do. It started as playful daydreaming, then it evolved into we want to do this and started seriously planning. Okay, so now I think I have enough information to make another call. What do you think about this, Amber?
Yeah, I definitely don't think OP's being the jerk here. I mean, it doesn't sound like he has a problem with them having some low-key, inexpensive vacation. It's that they want an elaborate vacation. And that was kind of the vibes I was getting from the story as it was written, but it's good to have that confirmation that it is.
Oh, I agree completely. Like, my original thought was like, oh, they're probably going for a cheap cruise because they might have had a deal or something like that. Because there are off seasons where you can actually do really, and these all-inclusive, cruises can be really cost-effective, like less than rent, for instance. And I think that if you can swing one of those and have like a few weeks off or, a weekend or something like that, then that's really not a bad thing to do, right? Especially if you're already responsible and paying everything down and stuff like that. But this is clearly not what they are doing.
No, and it's giving me some ideas about why they may be in this much debt in the first place.
Yeah, can you imagine having like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt and then be like, I also now want to spend $10,000 to go on a vacation. You can't have everything that you want in life.
Well, it sounds too like OP and his wife offered like compromise options that were cheaper and they just shot them down because it wasn't their dream European vacation.
Yeah, they need a reality check. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Pay for My Wife's Contraception? First of all, I'm a 31-year-old male, and I have been paying for her, a 32-year-old female's contraception since we became a couple in 2017. Back then, we were going at it like rabbits. It was the right thing to do. Well, 5 months ago, we had our first child together, and naturally, our drive went down, and I completely understand it. She told me that she doesn't feel sexy anymore, and she needs time. I completely get it. I will offer all the words of encouragement I can until she is ready. I have my days when I get frustrated, but understand that it's entirely my problem. A couple of months ago, she asked me to get her injection again, and of course I did. I thought that we were going to be back on for some loving, but it didn't happen because she still doesn't feel sexy. That's completely fine. Now she wants me to get it again, but it's kind of expensive. Am I the jerk for saying that I'm not going to pay for it until she starts feeling sexy again? Alright, folks, and before we make our judgment, I think there are some important comments here that illuminate some information. And Kavan19 says, so you're only willing to pay for an item if that payment is subsequently exchanged in return for adult intimate time? And OP replies, I have no expectations for intimate time. I'm just in the business of saving money where I can right now. And Love to RP4 says, paying for birth control is cheaper than paying for another kid. And OP replies, my point is that there wouldn't be another kid. And Love to RP4 says, if you have adult intimate time and there's no birth control, then there is a chance that she gets pregnant. Why is it that you can afford if she's willing to have intimate time, but now all of a sudden she can't? And OP replies, I can afford monthly Netflix streaming service, but why would I pay for it if we don't watch Netflix? I would pay for it when we start using it. And Love to RP4 says, unlike Netflix, on your TV, you can't just press a button and turn on or off your wife's desire to have intimate time. Women having insecurities about their bodies after giving birth are not uncommon. Regardless of men or women, when your partner you love is having intimacy issues, you don't fix them by applying pressure. That makes things worse. You help them by being supportive. And OP replies, when that desire is there, I will totally pay for it. She knows that. There is no pressure at all. Alright, folks, so I think that's enough to kind of give us an idea about, like, the psychology of OP's reasoning here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think OP's being a jerk here. He is trying to turn this into a transactional thing. He's like, I will not support you in this until you're going to put out for me, essentially. And it's really kind of a cruel thing to do. Like, he knows his wife is struggling, and she probably wants to get back to her old sense of self and is trying, and the birth control shots may be part of that. And he's not thinking about what the psychological toll is on her and how bad she probably feels that, she doesn't feel the same things she did anymore and that she's having these insecurities. It's like an extra layer of, now is also the pressure of, well, you can't even have birth control until you're ready to put out for me, essentially.
Yeah, I think that it adds a lot of unnecessary stress. And while I understand OP's desire to save money, she doesn't know when she's going to be ready. Mm-hmm. She might be ready tomorrow. She might be ready never, right? And it's one of those things where she doesn't need that additional pressure to, like, suddenly if she gets the shot, well, yeah, we're doing it tonight, right? Because maybe she'll get the shot and suddenly she doesn't feel like she's ready for being intimate. Mm-hmm. And that's understandable. Maybe she'll get the shot and then a few weeks later she'll be feeling more like herself and she's ready for intimate time. But it puts a lot of additional pressure and stress on her to suddenly be like, okay, you're 100% fixed now. You're done. You're ready, right? We popped you in the oven. Now you're ready to come out and, get jiggy with it, right?
Well, exactly. Like, it's not like a switch flip. And she may even start feeling better about herself, thinks she's ready, and then has a massive self-confidence hit when the time comes. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very hard to deal with those kind of insecurities. And so instead of trying to, like, force her hand and be like, no, you can't have anything until you're ready to do it, then, like, OP just needs to step up and be really supportive and kind and understanding.
Yeah. And if he's not intending on this being transactional, it sure comes across that way, right?
It does.
Like, I understand, again, his desire to save money, but the way he's presenting this, it feels very transactional. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that's just poorly phrased, right? I'm really hoping that he's just like a miser and he just doesn't see the value in it. But there is a value in your wife's mental health, right? Yeah. And she is getting these shots for a reason because she does want to eventually be intimate with you, right?
Right. Well, and there might even be other costly ways to help her. Mm-hmm. Like, she may benefit from some body image counseling, talking to a therapist about that if she's feeling dysphoric about her body. Mm-hmm. And so this whole, like, trying to get into a purely financial thing when emotions are involved is never a great idea.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Deciding Not to Buy Food for My Fiance's Family Anymore? Every other week, my fiance, a 22-year-old female, and I, a 23-year-old male, go out to eat with her family. And last week, we went to a Korean barbecue restaurant owned by my uncle, a 59-year-old male, where I paid for everyone's meal. I only asked them to cover the tip for the waitress, which they agreed to do. So the bill was over $240, and I paid for it. Usually, when I cover the tab for my friends or significant other, they generously tip since they're only responsible for the gratuity, not the cost of the meal itself. However, a few days ago, my cousin, a 21-year-old male, revealed that they had only left a dollar tip, and that they have tipped only $1 before. I was shocked and disappointed because a dollar tip is insultingly low, especially considering that I had treated them to alcohol and desserts. So, I discussed this issue with my fiance, but her family insists that they never tip and only pay like $1 for tips at restaurants and general services. This is happening in the USA. As a result, I informed my fiance our bi-weekly restaurant outings would have to change. I also have informed my fiance about this. I told her that I had only paid for their meals as a kind gesture. While my fiance was annoyed, she ultimately understood. Yesterday, they asked if I would buy their food again next week, to which I responded that they'll need to cover their own expenses for the meal. I didn't want to confront them about their habit of tipping only $1, so I decided to handle it differently this time, and simply pretend to cover for the tip for them. Her family did not take it so well. They accused me of being ungrateful, arguing that they were taking time to meet up with me with their bi-weekly, and that asking them to tip was unreasonable in the beginning. They also suggest that since my family is wealthy, that it's only fair that I continue to pay for their meals. My fiance was surprisingly on my side. She knew her family had issues. She just didn't have the courage to inform them about it. Am I the jerk for deciding not to buy food for my fiance's family anymore? Update 1. I didn't break up with her, but her family is furious, and I sent the top upvoted comment reply to them. They refuse to talk to me. They've called my fiance multiple times saying things like, "Is this how Koreans do their business?" and suggesting that she should break up with me along that lines, and other defensive things and more racist remarks. Alright folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, how arrogant to be like, well, you basically owe this to me because I'm spending my time and my time is that valuable.
Yeah.
Like, what they're doing is not okay. I don't know how many people there are in the family, but like, let's say there's 4 people on a $240 meal. They tip maybe like, $50 or something like that. It's still just over $10 a person, which is a steal for a meal.
Oh, yeah. I think that they are being incredibly entitled here. And I think it's very rude to tip $1, at least in the US, right? There are places where gratuities aren't necessary. And this is not one of those cases. And I understand them feeling maybe like the financial pressure. Maybe they can't afford to tip a large amount every single time they go out. Because sometimes it seems like every other week they go out and maybe the $40 tip is too much for them, right? And in that case, they need to talk to him and maybe tune it down, right? And go out less often. And say, well, we would love to go out with you, but we just can't afford to eat out this often. And it's nothing to do with you. It's just a matter of, this is a lot of money for us each time, even if we're only paying for the tip. And them trying to play this whole, like, we're doing you a favor. Oh, come on. Really?
What a hardship to eat all that food.
Yeah.
Real victims right there.
Yeah, they are totally the victims. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And here's the top comment, folks. And Bulbasaur Ranch says, arguing that they were the ones taking the time to meet up with me bi-weekly? Lol. Just reply, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that it was such a burden for you. Going forward, we can stop getting together bi-weekly then. I didn't realize that you considered it such a sacrifice. And I can't in good conscience keep asking you to make me such a sacrifice. You don't owe these people anything. They are trying to take advantage of you. Stop letting them try. Not the jerk. And OP replies, I might actually use this. Thanks. Alright, folks, and our next letter is an update from yesterday. Update. Am I the jerk for cutting my mother-in-law off because she told my daughter that she hoped that I would die when I was taken to the hospital? Well, you guys were right. I decided to talk to my husband and asked if he was upset that I decided that me and the girls are going no contact with mother-in-law. He said that he wasn't. He said that he always knew that my mother-in-law wanted a daughter instead of him, and it brought back all of the bad memories of rejection and hurt that he felt when he was growing up as a kid. I suggested therapy, and he's willing to go. We are also going to go to therapy for our 6-year-old, as she now gets anxious when I'm not in her sight. My husband agreed to going no contact with mother-in-law is the best thing for our family. Our daughter's birthday is coming up, and we have yet to tell mother-in-law that she is no longer invited. Not looking forward to that, but that's the update. Thanks to everyone for the lovely comments and support. I appreciate it. Alright, folks, what do you think of that update?
Well, it's good that Opie's husband is also on her side. It's unfortunate that this brought up a lot of traumatic memories, and that's really a cruel thing to do to kids. Like, if you can't be happy with your child regardless of the gender, then maybe don't conceive children where the gender is something that's up in the air.
Well, it seems like the mother-in-law is just not a good person in general. She should not be trusted with children,
Oh,
period.
absolutely.
Right? She traumatized her own son. And then she went and traumatized OP's children. Like, this is terrible. The poor 6-year-old and all of this, right? Like, she's going to need probably some therapy for a little while because mother-in-law turned something that could have been less traumatic into a very, very traumatic experience. So that poor kiddo. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she allegedly has a joke, but it's probably just a silly rhyme.
What's a bunny's favorite game?
Hopscotch.
Yeah, hopscotch.
Oh, okay, yeah, I mean, I was just making a random guess. I wasn't actually expecting to get it today. I thought it was going to be some kind of rhymey thing, but it works. And I have Earl Grey. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Tuesday, spelled TWO. Wow, folks, we're getting through the week already. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please, have it involve money.
Saving money is important and a good thing to strive for, but it shouldn't always be your ultimate goal.
I think that works. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.